But maybe, Bridget, you could kick us off with your AI aha from the last couple weeks.
I will, and mine will preview a little bit some of our main topic because I every once in a while do a compare and contrast across the models I work with, which, as you well know, are usually Claude and ChatGPT. But I added Google back into the mix. I have a Gemini subscription, but I just haven't used it as much as the other two. But when Google's deep research tool came out, a new model that comes with your Gemini subscription model, I put that in the mix. I like to ask them I ask the exact same question or sort of paragraph of questions, which is more like what I usually do. And I like to do a legal question because, again, something we'll talk a little bit more about later. There's an awful lot of law that's not really in the public domain, so it hasn't these LLMs haven't necessarily been trained on all of that law. So it's an area where it seems likely that you might get different answers across the different models, and I like to compare and contrast to like see how I feel about how they're doing. And the Google Deep Research tool absolutely blew me away. That I was asking a question about the unlicensed practice of law and large language models and how state laws might think about both people who ask legal questions of LLMs and the LLMs themselves, or the technologists who built them. The differences across the models were pretty interesting. Claude was in that. Do you sometimes get this Claude mode where it says I'm only giving short answers or concise answers?
I got it this morning. It's
Frustrating. I don't like it. It just gives me like 5 bullets. I'm like, "No, no, no, I want the old Claude. I want you to, like, talk to me with your, like, with big words." I don't like the concise mode. But so maybe it's not a fair fight for Claude today, but, it was actually over the weekend. But the Google Deep Research product is so far and away, better that I now have Gemini up all the time, in a way that I didn't used to. I used to just pull it up once in a while when I, wanted to compare again across models. Although I do, as we've talked about before, the notebook tool is an amazing tool. But what it does is it lets you ask it a question or a series of questions. Mine was 3 or 4 questions about UPL and LLMs. And then it comes back to you with how it's going to approach your research project. And it says, here's what I'm going to find out first. Then I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to figure out this. Then I'm going to write this up. And then I'm going to do this. And then it says, how do you feel about my plan for the research? And you get to then work with it if you think it skipped a step or it's doing a step that you don't really need. Like, for example, it thought it should answer my question as to Michigan first. And I sort of said, I don't really care as much about Michigan. I care about the whole country. Like, how is this different across the country? And it took that edit and created a new plan. Then it says, okay, go do something else. You don't have to, you can go look at other windows while I'm busy doing my research for you. Like, as if it's like a research assistant that like took your pile of folders and went back to his office. Like, and I did. I like went back and did other things, and then I checked back in. And when it was done, it was like, okay, I'm done with the research, and it had a fully drafted memo with footnotes, which had live links in them, so you could go to each live link and check out what it said. And some of those links, frankly, were ones that I never would have found on my own, like Google search, like going through all the blue links, which I never do anymore anyway. But they would have taken me forever to locate them, and there was valuable information in them. And then you can immediately just put it into a Google Doc, the entire thing. So it's a stunning tool, and it really made me think. I don't know. I don't know how we're all not going to be using this pretty regularly. It's such a time saver, and this is even in an area where, again, if you're a lawyer, you're going to have to go look for some law that it doesn't have access to, right? The specific state statutes. It does have some from secondary sources, but you can't rely on the legal content. But the surrounding content, the context was unbelievable. And the way it framed all of the things that you might want to be thinking about, or I might want to be thinking about, was as good as anything I could have ever asked from an associate or a clerk, or somebody else who's working with me on a project. And it was a very big aha moment, I have to say, and I'm sorry I'm talking too long about it. So,
No, oh my gosh, no, I'm so excited to hear about it because it was to me, the most interesting release in December and the one I'm most excited to try. I had difficulty accessing it, but we just figured out how I can access it, so I'm looking forward to trying it, but the piece that excites me maybe even as much as the research is the integration with Google Docs and the ability to just immediately convert it into something usable. I'm so persnickety now and so spoiled that when I copy and paste from Claude or ChatGPT and it has like the pound sign or the asterisks, and I have to go through and find and replace every single time, it sounds so dumb, but just eliminating that friction is immediately just a value add.
yeah, it's pretty incredible. I can't wait to hear what you do with it. You're gonna really be excited, I promise. Um, how about you? What do you have for us this week?
Mine, I feel like, has a lot of the same themes as yours in the sense of feeling more and more like you have a team of intelligent people or humans around you, but in an LLM form. So I'm working on a writing project and trying to organize the approach and how to structure my work and how to brainstorm different ideas. Like everything else, not using it as a substitute for actually writing the content, but imagining what it would be like to be an author who has a team of research assistants, a thought partner, somebody who's a really good project manager. So I worked with ChatGPT, but I compared the outputs. I used the same prompts, but compared the outputs on 4.0 with o 01, which is the more powerful reasoning model to see the difference. And it's not a complicated question that o 01, would even really be appropriate for, but I was curious. And I asked it, I gave it the parameters of the work and then asked, how should I structure my work over the course of the timeline allotted? What are some areas I might explore that I'm not thinking about? And how could I work with? I specifically asked it for other AI tools, not ChatGPT or Claude, that I might not be aware of that could be helpful. And I thought it was interesting because both of them generated helpful responses, but O1's were better. It offered me more context in the response as to how it got the AI suggestions it got. And both of them surfaced some new tools that I hadn't heard of before. Like there was this one tool called Semantic Scholar. Are you familiar with that?
I don't know it. Mm-mm.
It looks a little bit like the SSRN interface, but it feels very, very robust. It claims to have over 220 million academic papers across all different disciplines. And I ran a few like quick prompts into it and it was great. It has these like useful features like it will automate your citations, which is always another friction point. It will create online folders that organize your research. It'll sort of show you like the highly influential citations to the paper. And I thought that was interesting because it's not a Gen AI product. I think it's a like quote unquote traditional AI product. But part of this era feels like because we're so excited about Gen AI, we're starting to think about how we can use these other pre-existing tools better. And so I was really excited about that. So I'm excited to both use that tool, but also to continue using Gen AI. And I'm really excited now hearing about deep research to use that as the project unfolds. Thank you for tuning in to 2030 Vision, AI and the Future of Law. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Stay informed and inspired as we continue to explore the AI-driven future of the legal profession. We'll see you next time.